Dr. Alan Wright wiped sweat from his forehead as he carefully brushed dust from the stone tablet. The alien sun of Proxima Centauri b beat down on the dig site, making the work even harder. For 3 months, his team had been excavating this ancient city, but today felt different. Today, they might find something important. "Susan, can you look at this?" Alan called to his colleague. Dr. Susan Miller set down her tools and walked over. Her eyes widened as she looked at the tablet. "This writing, it's similar to what we found on Kepler 186f last year," she said, running her fingers over the strange symbols. Susan was the best linguist in the Interstellar Research Coalition. If anyone could read these alien words, it was her. "Can you translate it?" Alan asked. Susan took out her scanner and passed it over the tablet. "Part of it. Give me a minute." While Susan worked, Alan looked around the ruins. This city was at least 50,000 years old, built by beings who had mastered space travel long before humans had invented the wheel. The thought made him feel small, but also excited. Each discovery told them more about the universe they lived in. "Alan, you need to see this." Susan's voice was tense. "The tablet has a warning about Earth." "Earth? Are you sure?" Susan nodded. "The coordinates match, and the message is clear. It says, 'Never awaken them.'" Alan frowned. "Them? Who are them?" "I don't know. But look at this symbol." Susan pointed to a drawing that looked like Earth with strange shapes beneath its surface. "Whatever they were warning about, it's on our home planet." Back on their ship that evening, Alan and Susan shared their finding with the rest of the team. They had found other tablets with the same warning. "Maybe it's just one alien civilization's myth about Earth," said Eric Dawson, the team's xenobiologist. "Every culture has scary stories." "But why would they all say the same thing?" Susan argued. "We've found similar warnings on 3 different planets now, all talking about Earth, all saying never awaken them." Olivia Martinez, the security chief, spoke up. "We should report this to Admiral Rogers. If there's even a small chance this is real, the council needs to know." The team agreed. Alan sent their findings to IRC headquarters. He didn't expect a quick response. Messages took time to travel between star systems. But the reply came faster than expected. Admiral Nancy Rogers wanted a video call. "Dr. Wright, your findings are concerning," Admiral Rogers said on the screen. Her gray hair was pulled back in a tight bun, her face serious. "Especially because we just got an unusual report from Earth." Alan leaned forward. "What kind of report?" "A geological survey team in Antarctica has detected strange movement under the ice. Something big." A chill ran down Alan's spine. "Admiral, we need to investigate these warnings. If they're all talking about the same thing, I agree. I'm authorizing your team to return to Earth immediately. Work with the survey team and find out what's going on." As the call ended, Alan turned to his team. "Pack up, we're going home." Thousands of miles away in Antarctica, Patricia Keller stared at her computer screen in confusion. The seismic readings made no sense. Something was moving deep below the ice sheet, something massive, and it wasn't behaving like any earthquake she had ever studied. "Greg, can you check these readings?" she asked her supervisor. Greg Wilson took one look and frowned. "That can't be right. Run the test again." Patricia did, but the results were the same. It's like something down there is waking up." Greg rubbed his beard. "We should notify the higher-ups, but let's keep this quiet for now. No need to cause panic until we understand what we're looking at." Patricia nodded, but as she looked at the data again, she couldn't shake a feeling of dread. The movement was getting stronger and more regular, almost like a heartbeat. 3 days later, Alan's team arrived at the Antarctic Research Station. The trip from Proxima Centauri b normally took months, but they had used an experimental faster-than-light drive to get back to Earth quickly. The situation seemed too urgent to wait. "Dr. Keller, I'm Alan Wright. This is my team. The IRC sent us to investigate your findings." Patricia shook his hand, surprised. "That was fast. I only sent my report a week ago." "Your report wasn't the only reason we came," Alan said. He showed her images of the tablets they had found. We have reason to believe there might be something dangerous beneath the ice. Something ancient. Patricia's face paled. The movement has been getting stronger. Come see for yourself. She led them to the monitoring station, where screens showed the seismic activity. The pattern was clear now, rhythmic pulses coming from deep within the earth. It spread to other locations too, Greg said. We're detecting similar patterns near the North Pole now. Susan studied the data, then pulled out one of the tablet images. Look at this. The pattern matches the symbol on this warning. Whatever these aliens were afraid of, I think it's waking up. Alan turned to Kevin Clark, their pilot. We need to do a scan of the area. Get the ship ready. An hour later, they were flying over the Antarctic ice in their research vessel, the Horizon. Kevin kept the ship low while Eric operated the deep scanning equipment. I'm detecting a network of chambers about 2 miles down, Eric reported. And there's some kind of energy signature I've never seen before. Can we drill down to take a closer look? Alan asked. It's risky, Patricia warned. The ice sheet is unstable in this area. We need to know what we're dealing with, Alan insisted. Admiral Rogers is sending a full team, but they won't arrive for days. We're the only ones here now. They landed at a spot where the chambers seemed closest to the surface. Using the ship's thermal drill, they began to cut through the ancient ice. As they reached the 1-mile mark, the drill suddenly broke through into an empty space. We hit something, Kevin said, checking the readings. Some kind of air pocket. That's impossible, Patricia said. At this depth, there shouldn't be any hollow spaces. Alan made a decision. Lower a probe. Let's see what's down there. They watched on screens as the small probe descended into the darkness. Its lights revealed a vast chamber with walls of a strange, dark material that wasn't ice or rock. The chamber floor was covered with rows of large pod-like structures. Those Eric whispered. They look like stasis chambers. As the probe moved closer to one of the pods, they could see that something was inside. Something humanoid, but clearly not human. Suddenly, the ice around their drill site began to crack. We need to pull out now, Greg shouted, but it was too late. The ice gave way and the drilling platform tilted dangerously. Warning alarms blared through the ship. Everyone back to the ship, Alan ordered. As they scrambled aboard, the probe's camera showed movement in one of the pods. A pair of large alien eyes snapped open. Whatever had been sleeping beneath the ice for countless years was finally awake, and the ancient warning suddenly made terrible sense. Never awaken them, Susan whispered. We just did. The ground shook as Alan and his team raced back to their ship. Ice cracked beneath their feet, and a low rumbling sound filled the air. Kevin, their pilot, was already in the cockpit, starting the engines. Everyone on board? Kevin shouted as they scrambled up the ramp. Yes, go! Alan yelled back, helping Patricia onto the ship. The ramp closed behind them just as a large crack split the ice where they had been standing seconds before. The Horizon lifted off, hovering above the now unstable drilling site. Through the ship's windows, they watched as a section of ice collapsed, revealing a dark opening below. What's happening down there? Greg asked, his face pale with fear. Eric was still watching the probe's feed on his tablet. The pod we saw, it's opening. They gathered around to look at the screen. The pod had split down the middle, and something was slowly emerging from inside. The creature was tall and thin with gray-blue skin. Its body seemed to glow slightly from within, and its eyes were large and completely black. It's looking at the probe, Susan whispered. As if hearing her words, the creature turned directly toward the camera. Its mouth opened, revealing rows of small, sharp teeth. Then, without warning, the feed went dead. We lost the probe, Eric said, tapping at his tablet. We need to contact Admiral Rogers right away, Alan said. Whatever was down there is awake now, and we have no idea what it might do. While Alan tried to establish contact with the IRC Council, Patricia checked her monitoring equipment. What she saw made her gasp. The seismic activity, it's spreading. Fast. Whatever woke up down there is triggering something all across the polar regions. Susan was working on her own computer, comparing their readings with the warnings they had found. The ancient tablets mentioned sleepers beneath the ice. I think what we just saw was one of them. But according to these warnings, there could be thousands, maybe millions more. Alan finally got through to Admiral Rogers. Her face appeared on the main screen, looking concerned. Dr. Wright, what's your status? Admiral, we've confirmed the presence of artificial chambers beneath the Antarctic ice, and there's something alive down there, something not human. We accidentally woke one up, and now the activity is spreading. Rogers listened carefully, her expression growing more serious with each word. I'm sending reinforcements immediately. The battleship Northern Star will be there in 6 hours. In the meantime, establish a monitoring perimeter and do not, under any circumstances, make further contact with these beings. Understood, Admiral. As the call ended, Olivia checked the ship's sensors. I'm picking up unusual energy readings from the site. Whatever's down there is powering up something big. We should move to a safer distance, Kevin suggested, already adjusting the ship's position. They pulled back to a hill about a mile away and set up monitoring equipment. From this vantage point, they could see the hole in the ice growing larger. Strange lights flickered from deep within. Eric pointed to something moving at the edge of the opening. Look, a figure climbed out of the hole, the same creature they had seen on the probe's feed. It stood on the ice, looking around as if getting its bearings. Then it raised its arms toward the sky. What is it doing? Greg wondered. Susan was recording everything on her tablet. I think it's signaling. The creature's body began to pulse with light. The glow spread from its chest outward, becoming brighter and more intense. Then, a beam of energy shot straight up into the sky. That's not good, Olivia said, checking her instruments. That energy pulse just went into orbit. It's like a beacon. Patricia's monitoring equipment started beeping urgently. We've got more seismic activity, not just here, all around the world. Northern Canada, Siberia, Greenland. It's like something is waking up everywhere. Alan made a decision. We need to try to communicate with it. Maybe we can convince it to stop whatever it's doing. That's too dangerous, Olivia objected. We should wait for the Northern Star. By then it might be too late, Alan argued. Susan and I will go. The rest of you stay here with the ship. Despite protests from the others, Alan and Susan put on cold weather gear and carefully made their way down toward the creature. They stopped about 50 yards away. The being noticed them immediately. It turned, its black eyes fixing on them with an unsettling intensity. Susan stepped forward, her hands raised to show she was unarmed. We come in peace, she said clearly. We wish to communicate. The creature tilted its head, studying them. Then, to their shock, it spoke, not with its mouth, but directly into their minds. You have awakened us, the voice said in their heads. After millions of years, the primordials rise again. Alan fought against the strange feeling of having another being's thoughts in his mind. Who are you? What are you doing on Earth? Earth is ours, the voice replied. We were here long before. Your kind evolved. We are the primordials, the first civilization of this world. Why were you sleeping? Susan asked. A great catastrophe threatened to destroy all life. We could not leave our world, so we went deep and changed our bodies to survive the long sleep. We waited for the danger to pass. And now? Alan asked, dreading the answer. Now we reclaim what is ours. Your kind, humans, you are but a temporary caretaker species. Your time is ending. Susan tried another approach. We can share the planet. There's no need for conflict. The creature made a sound like laughter, but there was no humor in it. Share? No. This world was shaped for us. Its resources, its very atmosphere must be changed back to suit our needs. That would kill billions of humans, Alan protested. Yes, the primordial agreed simply. An unfortunate necessity. Without warning, the ground beneath them began to vibrate. The primordial looked up as a large ship appeared in the sky. The Northern Star had arrived. Your weapons cannot harm us, the primordial said. More of my kind awaken each moment. Soon we will be unstoppable. As if to prove its point, More figures began emerging from the hole in the ice. Dozens of primordials, their bodies glowing with the same inner light. "Run," Alan said to Susan. "Now!" They turned and sprinted back toward their ship as the Northern Star moved into position above the growing group of primordials. A warning shot fired from the battleship, hitting the ice near the aliens. In response, all the primordials raised their arms together. A massive pulse of energy shot upward, hitting the Northern Star directly. The ship's lights flickered, and it began to lose altitude. "They disabled it somehow," Olivia said, as Alan and Susan reached the horizon. "We need to get out of here." As Kevin prepared for emergency takeoff, Alan looked back at the primordials. Their numbers were growing by the minute. The first contact with Earth's original inhabitants had failed. Now, humanity faced a threat unlike any in its history. Beings who saw humans as nothing more than unwelcome guests on their planet. The war for Earth had begun. 3 weeks had passed since the first primordial awoke in Antarctica. The world was no longer the same. Major cities across the globe reported strange events, electronics failing, animals behaving oddly, and people experiencing vivid, frightening dreams. Some claimed to hear voices in their heads speaking in languages no human had ever heard. Alan, Susan, and their team had been moved to a secure facility under the Rocky Mountains. The IRC had set up its main Earth Defense Center here, deep underground where the primordial psychic abilities seemed weaker. The latest reports show primordial emergence in 27 different locations, Admiral Rogers said, pointing to a map on the large screen. Red dots marked every continent, but they were concentrated at the poles. Their numbers grow each day. "What about the Northern Star?" Alan asked. The battleship had crash-landed after the primordials disabled it, but many crew members had survived. "Captain Lewis and half his crew made it to our South Pacific base," Rogers replied. "The ship itself is a total loss." Patricia studied the data on her tablet. Since their encounter with the first primordial, she had experienced strange headaches and occasional flashes of images that weren't her own memories. She hadn't told anyone yet, afraid of what it might mean. "I've analyzed the seismic patterns," she said. "It looks like the primordials have been asleep for at least 2 million years, maybe longer. That's before humans evolved." Eric added, "Their biology is unlike anything we've seen. They appear to be carbon-based like us, but their cellular structure is far more complex. They can convert energy directly into matter, which explains how they disabled the Northern Star." "And their psychic abilities?" Rogers asked. "Growing stronger," Susan answered. "Reports suggest they can influence human minds at greater distances. Now, some people near emergent zones have started behaving strangely, almost as if they're being controlled." The door opened, and Olivia entered with a grim expression. "We just lost contact with New York," she announced. "Satellite images show unusual structures growing throughout the city. The same is happening in Shanghai, Lagos, and Rio de Janeiro." Rogers took a deep breath. "We're initiating the safeguard protocol. All remaining military forces will focus on defending the safe zones we've established. We'll evacuate as many people as we can." "And the rest?" Alan asked quietly. Rogers didn't answer. She didn't need to. They all knew millions would be left outside the safe zones. Later that day, Alan found Patricia alone in the research lab, staring at brain scan images. "Whose scans are these?" he asked. Patricia hesitated before answering. "Mine. I've been experiencing things since Antarctica. Headaches, strange thoughts that don't feel like my own." Alan looked worried. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I was afraid they'd lock me up," she replied. "But I think I might be able to use this. The primordial we met, it spoke directly into our minds. What if that connection works, both ways?" "That's too dangerous, Patricia. We're running out of options, Alan. Look at this." She showed him footage from a drone flying over Chicago. The city's skyline was changing. Crystal-like structures grew from buildings, and the waters of Lake Michigan had turned a strange purple color. "They're terraforming Earth to suit their needs." Before Alan could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. They rushed to the command center where chaos reigned. People were shouting and running to battle stations. "What's happening?" Alan asked Greg, who was monitoring the perimeter sensors. "They found us," Greg said simply. "Primordials, approaching, from the east. At least 30 of them." On the main screen, they could see the beings gliding across the landscape. They no longer looked weak from their long sleep. Their bodies were taller now, their skin shifting colors like oil on water. They moved with purpose, heading straight for the hidden entrance to the facility. "How did they find us?" Rogers demanded. Susan looked at Patricia with sudden understanding. "They followed a mental link. Someone here has been in contact with them." All eyes turned to Patricia, who backed away. "I didn't know," she whispered. "The headaches, the strange thoughts. They were tracking me all along." "It doesn't matter now," Rogers said. "Activate the defense system." Outside, automated, turrets emerged from hidden positions and began firing at the approaching primordials. The weapons had been designed based on what they had learned about the aliens' biology, using frequencies that disrupted their energy fields. Some of the primordials fell, but most continued forward, raising their arms in unison. A wave of energy shot toward the mountain, causing the entire facility to shake. "They're breaking through," someone shouted. Patricia suddenly doubled over in pain, clutching her head. "They're calling me," she gasped. "They want me to open the doors." Alan grabbed her shoulders. "Patricia, fight it." But her eyes had changed, becoming darker. When she spoke again, her voice sounded different. "Why fight what you cannot stop? The primordials ruled this world before your species crawled from the mud. It is their right to reclaim it." Susan stepped forward, holding a device Eric had developed. It emitted a frequency that blocked the primordials' psychic signals. She activated it near Patricia, who screamed and then collapsed. "Get her to medical," Alan ordered as 2 guards carried Patricia away. On the screen, they watched as the primordials reached the main entrance. The massive steel doors designed to withstand nuclear blasts began to glow red from some energy the aliens were directing at them. "Evacuate all non-essential personnel," Rogers commanded. "We need to initiate the Omega Protocol." Alan looked at her in shock. "The Omega Protocol? That would destroy the entire facility. And take a lot of them with it," Rogers replied grimly. "We can't let them take this base. The weapons research we've been doing here is our only chance." The doors were beginning to melt. They had minutes at most. In the medical bay, Patricia woke up feeling clearer than she had in weeks. The blocking device had temporarily severed her connection to the primordials, but she could still sense them outside. And suddenly, she understood something important. She staggered to her feet, ignoring the protests of the medical staff, and made her way back to the command center. When she arrived, they were in the final stages of the evacuation. "Wait," she called to Rogers. "I know why they're really here. It's not just me they're after." Rogers paused, her hand hovering over the Omega Protocol activation. "They need something. In this facility," Patricia continued. "Something we found in Antarctica and brought here. The sample Eric took from the first primordial we encountered." Eric looked startled. "The tissue sample? It's just a small piece. Why would they?" "Because it contains part of their collective consciousness," Patricia explained. "As long as we have it, they can't fully connect with each other. It's like we're holding a piece of their mind hostage." A new plan began to form. Maybe they could use this to their advantage. Maybe, just maybe, humanity had found its first real leverage in a war that had seemed impossible to win. As the doors finally gave way and the first primordials entered the facility, Alan made a decision that would change the course of the conflict. The humans weren't going to run anymore. It was time to fight back. 6 months had passed since the battle at the Rocky Mountains facility. The world looked very different now. Large parts of every continent had been transformed by the primordials. The skies over these areas glowed with strange colors at night, and the plants there had changed into forms no human had seen before. Humanity still held about 30% of Earth's surface. These areas were protected by new technology developed from studying the tissue sample Eric had taken from the first primordial. The sample had become the key to humanity's survival. Alan looked out the window of their new base, hidden deep in the Amazon rainforest. From here, the Resistance coordinated their efforts against the Primordials. The base was shielded by devices that blocked the aliens' psychic powers, designed by Eric and his team. The latest field reports are in, Susan said, entering the room with a tablet. Our forces managed to push back a primordial advance near Sydney. The new weapons are working. These weapons used specific frequencies that disrupted the primordials' ability to manipulate energy. It didn't kill them, but it forced them back into a dormant state similar to their long sleep. Any word from Rogers? Alan asked. Susan shook her head. Nothing since the IRC fleet engaged the primordial ships that rose from the Pacific. The primordials had awakened massive organic vessels that had been sleeping at the bottom of Earth's oceans for millions of years. These living ships now patrolled the skies, making air travel dangerous for humans. And Patricia? Susan's expression softened. She's stable. The connection with the primordials is getting stronger, but she's learning to control it. Since the attack on the mountain facility, Patricia had become their most valuable asset. Her mind, partly linked with the primordials, gave them insights into the aliens' plans, but it came at a cost. Each time she connected with them, she risked losing more of herself. Alan went to the medical wing, where Patricia was kept in a special room lined with blocking devices. She sat cross-legged on her bed, eyes closed in concentration. When she sensed Alan's presence, she opened her eyes. "They're looking for something," she said without greeting. "Something buried deep in the earth. It's important to them." "Do you know what it is?" Alan asked, sitting beside her. Patricia rubbed her temples. "They call it the Elder Mind. It's not a single primordial, but a living computer of sorts. It contains all their collective knowledge and history. It was the first to go into hibernation, and was meant to be the last to awaken. And they haven't found it yet? No, it's hidden somewhere they didn't expect. I think humans might have built something over it without knowing what lay beneath. This was valuable information. If the Elder Mind was still dormant, perhaps they could find it first." Later that day, Alan met with the Resistance leadership in the command center. Olivia, now a general in the human forces, led the meeting. "We've identified 7 possible locations for this Elder Mind," she said, pointing to a world map on the screen. Red dots marked sites in Antarctica, the Himalayas, Egypt, Mexico, Peru, Greece, and China. All are ancient sites with unusual energy readings. "We should split into teams," Alan suggested. "We don't have much time." Greg, who had become their chief analyst, spoke up. "There's another problem. The primordials have started converting humans in their controlled zones. Not just controlling their minds, but actually changing their biology." He showed footage from a drone that had flown over Chicago. People walked the streets, but they no longer looked fully human. Their skin had the same shifting colors as the primordials, and their eyes had grown larger and darker. "Why would they do this?" Susan wondered. "Adaptation," Eric explained. "The Earth's atmosphere isn't quite right for them anymore. It's changed too much since they went into hibernation. So they're creating a hybrid species that can survive in current conditions while still serving them." The news was disturbing. It meant their time was running out even faster than they thought. "We need to find this Elder Mind," Alan decided, "and Patricia should come with my team." There were immediate objections. Patricia's condition was unstable, and bringing her into the field was risky. But her ability to sense the primordials made her too valuable to leave behind. When Alan told Patricia the plan, she nodded. "I've been seeing a pyramid in my dreams, not Egypt. Somewhere in the Americas." "Mexico or Peru, then," Alan said. "We'll start there." 2 days later, Alan's team was flying low over the jungle in Peru, approaching the ancient city of Corral. It was one of the oldest human settlements in the Americas, dating back 5,000 years. Beneath it, their sensors had detected a vast, underground structure that predated the human city by millions of years. Their small ship carried Alan, Susan, Patricia, and Eric, along with 4 soldiers for protection. They had managed to avoid primordial patrols by using a cloaking system based on the aliens' own technology. As they neared Corral, Patricia suddenly gasped and clutched her head. "They know," she whispered. "They can feel the elder mind stirring. It's here, under the main pyramid." They landed a mile from the site and continued on foot. The ancient city stood empty, its stone structures silent under the sun. But as they approached the central pyramid, Patricia stopped. "We're not alone," she warned. From behind the stone buildings, figures emerged. They were the changed humans they had seen in the footage, halfway between human and primordial. Their movements were stiff, like puppets controlled by distant hands. "They're not fully conscious," Patricia explained, sensing their minds. "The primordials are using them as eyes and ears." The hybrid humans surrounded them but didn't attack. They seemed to be waiting for something. "The entrance is inside the pyramid," Patricia said. "We need to get past them." Eric activated a device he had created. It emitted the same frequency their weapons used, but at a lower power. The hybrid humans recoiled, their connection to their primordial masters temporarily disrupted. "Now," Alan ordered, and they ran for the pyramid. Inside, they found what looked like a normal archaeological site until Patricia led them to a specific wall covered in ancient carvings. When she placed her hand on one symbol, the entire wall slid aside, revealing a tunnel that glowed with soft blue light. "This wasn't built by humans," Susan observed as they entered the tunnel. "The material is the same as the chambers in Antarctica." The tunnel led deep underground, eventually opening into an enormous cavern. In the center stood a structure unlike anything they had seen before. It resembled a massive brain made of crystal and living tissue, pulsing with light and energy. "The elder mind," Patricia whispered. Her eyes had begun to glow slightly, resonating with the energy in the room. Eric scanned it with his instruments. "It's incredible. The computing power of this thing must be beyond anything we can imagine. It's been running for millions of years, even during hibernation." "Can we use it?" Alan asked. Patricia stepped forward. "I think I can connect with it. Not just receive, but send information too. If I can make it understand us, maybe we can negotiate." "That's too dangerous," Susan protested. But Patricia was already walking toward the elder mind. "It's our only chance," she said. "The war is spreading beyond Earth now. The primordial ships are attacking human colonies on Mars and the Moon. We need to end this." Before anyone could stop her, she placed both hands on the crystal surface of the elder mind. Her body went rigid, and her eyes rolled back. Energy flowed between her and the ancient consciousness as humanity's representative made direct contact with the mind of Earth's original rulers. Patricia felt her mind expand as it connected with the elder mind. Images and thoughts that were not her own flooded her consciousness. She saw Earth as it had been billions of years ago, when the primordials first evolved. She felt their fear when they detected the cosmic disaster approaching their world, a massive solar flare that would strip away Earth's atmosphere and kill all life on the surface. She understood now. The primordials had not gone into hibernation by choice. They had been desperate, changing their biology and burying themselves deep within the planet to survive. They had planned to sleep for only 1,000 years, but something had gone wrong with their timing systems. Millions of years had passed instead. Meanwhile, Alan and the others watched anxiously as Patricia stood frozen, her hands still touching the crystal surface of the elder mind. Energy pulsed between them, and Patricia's skin had begun to take on the same shifting colors as the primordials. "We need to pull her out," Susan urged. "She's changing." "Not yet," Eric said, monitoring Patricia's vital signs on his device. "Her brain is still active and human. She's still fighting." Inside the connection, Patricia pushed past the flood of ancient memories and found the active consciousness of the elder mind. Unlike the aggressive primordials they had encountered, this intelligence was calm and analytical. "You are not like the others of your kind," the elder mind communicated to her. "I am human," Patricia replied with her thoughts. "But I can understand you now. The awakening was not meant to happen this way," the elder mind explained. "The sleepers woke too soon before their minds were fully restored. They remember only that Earth was theirs. Not that all life here deserves protection. Patricia showed the elder mind images of what the awakened primordials had done, the cities they had destroyed, the humans they had changed, the war they had started. She shared humanity's struggle to survive. "This is not our way," the elder mind responded. "We were guardians of all life on this world, not destroyers. The long sleep has corrupted their minds." "Can you stop them?" Patricia asked. "Alone? No. My physical form cannot leave this chamber, but together, perhaps we can." Outside the mental connection, the situation was getting worse. The hybrid humans had entered the tunnel and were approaching the cavern. Olivia and the soldiers took defensive positions. "We've got company," Olivia warned. Alan looked at Patricia. Her entire body was glowing now, and she appeared to be speaking, though no sound came out. "Whatever she's doing, she needs to hurry," he said. In her mental link, Patricia felt the elder mind searching through her memories, learning about humans and what they had accomplished during the primordials' long absence. It was weighing, judging, deciding, "Your species has potential," it finally communicated. "You build, you create, you explore, as we once did. You are worthy of this world." "Then help us," Patricia pleaded, "before it's too late." "There is a way," the elder mind explained. "The primordials share a collective consciousness. If I join with it again, I can correct the corruption in their minds. But I need a conduit, someone connected to both species." Patricia understood what it was asking. "Me? Yes, but the risk is great. Your human identity may not survive." Patricia thought of Earth, of Alan and her friends, of all the humans fighting to survive. "I'll do it." In the cavern, the hybrid humans had arrived. They surrounded Alan's team but didn't attack. Instead, they stood still, as if waiting for instructions. Suddenly, Patricia released her hands from the elder mind and turned to face the others. Her eyes glowed with an inner light, and when she spoke, her voice had a strange resonance. "It's time," she said. "The elder mind has shown me what to do." "Patricia?" Alan asked cautiously. "Is that you?" She smiled, and for a moment looked entirely human again. "Yes, it's still me. But I'm also something more now. The elder mind has shared its consciousness with me." The hybrid humans suddenly knelt before her, sensing the elder mind's presence within her. "What's happening?" Susan asked. "The elder mind was never meant to sleep so long," Patricia explained. "It was supposed to wake first and prepare the way for the others. When humans accidentally woke that first primordial instead, they all woke wrong, confused, angry, and territorial." She walked past them toward the tunnel entrance. "I need to get to the surface. I need to broadcast the elder mind's consciousness to all primordials." "Will it stop them?" Eric asked. "It will remind them of who they really are," Patricia replied. Before the sleep corrupted them, they followed her to the surface, where the sky had darkened. Primordial ships hovered overhead, drawn by the awakening of the elder mind. The hybrid humans followed at a distance, still awaiting commands. Patricia stood in the center of the ancient city and raised her arms toward the ships. "Now," she said, "help me amplify the signal." Eric quickly set up his equipment, modifying it to boost whatever Patricia was about to do. The others stood back, weapons ready in case things went wrong. Patricia closed her eyes, and energy began to flow from her body. It shot upward in a beam of light, striking the nearest primordial ship. Instead of attacking, the ship absorbed the energy and then redirected it, sending it to other ships in a growing network. Around the world, every primordial stopped what they were doing. In the transformed cities, on their organic ships, in their new underwater habitats, all of them received the elder mind's message. "What is she telling them?" Alan asked Susan. "I think she's reminding them of what they once were," Susan replied, "before the long sleep." Minutes passed and the energy continued to flow. Patricia's body was growing weaker, but she remained standing. The hybrid humans around them had fallen to their knees, their bodies shaking as they too changed. Finally, the energy beam faded, and Patricia collapsed. Alan rushed to catch her. Her skin still had the shifting colors of the primordials, but her eyes were her own when she opened them. "Did it work?" she asked weakly. Before Alan could answer, one of the primordial ships descended, landing near them. A tall figure emerged, the same type of being they had been fighting for months. But its posture was different. It approached them slowly, hands empty in a gesture of peace. "We remember now," the primordial said, its voice in their minds gentle rather than invasive. "We remember who we were meant to be. Guardians, not conquerors." "What happens now?" Alan asked. "Now we rebuild," the primordial replied. "Together. This world has changed in our absence. We must change too." Patricia stood with Alan's help. "They understand that humans belong here too. The Elder Mind showed them our history, our achievements. They see our potential now." The primordial nodded. "We slept while you grew. Now we must learn from each other." In the days that followed, the war ended. Across the world, primordials ceased their attacks and began to reverse some of the changes they had made to Earth's environment. The hybrid humans were offered a choice, to remain as they were or to be restored. Patricia, still carrying part of the Elder Mind within her, became the bridge between the two species. Her unique connection allowed her to understand both sides, in a way no one else could. 1 year later, Alan stood with Patricia on a hill overlooking what had once been New York City. The strange crystal structures remained, but now they existed alongside human buildings in a city where both species lived. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked her. "What you had to become?" Patricia watched as a group of human children played with a young primordial, teaching it a game with a ball. "No," she said. "Sometimes you have to change to save what matters most." Far above them, the ancient warnings that had been carved into stone tablets across the galaxy slowly began to change. The message "never awaken them" was being replaced by a new one. "Earth, home of two peoples."